And now I'd like to invite to the stage Mr. Avi Berger, Head of Space Office, DDR&D, Israeli Ministry of Defense. Mr. Berger will share with us the challenges and opportunities inherent in the new space. Please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you very much, Major General Al Zamir, Dr. Danny Gold, Professor Itzek Ben Israel, and of course, Colonel Nir Weingold. Thank you for the invitation for this important conference. First of all, I would like to say a few words about the Space Office in the DDR&D. The Space Office, which was initiated in 1981 after the decision of Prime Minister Menachem Begin about building a space capability in Israel because he was concerned what will happen after this peace treatment with Egypt. And now the Sinai Desert, someone need to look at it and see if there's hundreds of Egyptian tanks going ahead toward our south borders, and the only way in a peaceful time to do that is through satellites. So this was decided in 1981. Eventually, we launched our first satellite in 1995, and now we have a full constellation with much bigger capability and lots of challenges. We are responsible in our office on three major areas. First of all, as Dr. Gold said, we're responsible for the launches. We're building our launches from scratch. We're launching our satellites from Palmachim base, and this is a fully autonomous capability that we have here in Israel. Of course, we're building and developing our satellites. And lastly, we are having a ground control activity that operate the satellites from IDF bases. And this is a major capability that we have in our army. I would like to talk today about the challenges that we have in space and tremendous changes that happening actually in the last few years, but I think it's going to address our defense activity here in Israel, and I would like to share with you. I call it challenges and opportunity, and I'll talk about both of them. So when you talk about, okay. So when you talk about space and the changes and dramatic changes in space that are happening in the few years, you could not talk about this gentleman called Elon Musk. Probably everybody knows him, and he really did a change. A dramatic change, and this change is actually impact our activity. So within less than a decade, more than a decade ago, he had the first Falcon 1 launcher. Then he had Falcon 9 taking for space about 22 tons. And today it's being launched every 2 days, about 22 tons to space. Later on, he decided that these launchers need to go back. And after every launch, the launcher is going back, and after a few days, it will go directly to space. So this is another big change. And then came Falcon Heavy with 64 tons, and just recently, we have the bigger one, the Starship with 100 tons, and just recently, we saw that this huge launcher is actually going back to the next launcher. So this is a tremendous revolution in space, and I'll see what's going on and what does it mean. So first of all, as you see in this slide, the number of satellites being launched every year just jumped significantly in around 22, so from 150, 200 satellites a year, and now we're talking about 3,000 satellites a year. We have about 10,000 operational satellites in space today, and don't get confused, 70% of them belong to SpaceX and Mr. Elon Musk. So we are questioning ourselves if it's really a dramatic jump in satellite in space, or just we have a one crazy guy called Elon Musk and all the satellites belong to him, so this is actually the change, but no other are launching satellites, so I don't think it's true because Amazon company is now starting to launch about 3,000 satellites, also for communication capability, so probably major private organization and maybe other nations will go into that number of launches and satellite, but the numbers probably will be increased dramatically. Some talking about 60,000 satellites in the end of in 2030. But more interesting is that if 1 kilo that you want to take to space will cost you about $100,000, and this is what happened in about 1980. Today it's about $2,500 per kilo, and after Starship, probably it go even to, I don't know, 200 kilo. Maybe it will be cheaper to go to the moon instead to Eilat, but this is the rate, and it's impressive. So as I said, as I told you, now we're talking about 9,000 or maybe 10,000 satellites in space. It will increase, I'm sure about it. And the major problem that we're dealing with is space debris object. Currently, in our operational unit, we need to move our satellite probably about twice a week, once a week, so we're getting an alert from CSPOC, the American, and say, hey guys, about 72 hours, 48 hours from now, there's a chance that some debris will contact your satellite, so please do something, and we need to give it a little bit of boost. So this is what happened today. I don't know, talking about 170 million small parts, smaller than 1 millimeter, this will increase significantly. It's going to be a major problem. The Wright brother, when had the first airborne flight in 1903, they never thought it would be so complicated in the air. But now we have air control very clearly and very straightforward. Probably this is what's going to happen in space. And now we need to talk about something else. Okay, if we want to fix something, if we want to do some maintenance, so today we're talking about specific satellite that actually will come to your object, will take it, take care of it, grab it, and maybe change and do something for the maintenance. Astroscale, a company, a US company, which has an affiliate here in Israel, talking about having a specific satellite that will hold and get close to a geosatellite, and instead of putting more effort to take off the geo satellite, communication satellite from the orbit, this satellite can just hold and grab the communication satellite for several years, and that reduce the cost of the maintenance for the communication company, and this is a significant thing here, but we're thinking on the other side. So if you can send satellite and conduct maintenance activity, you can do the same thing, just send satellite and do some other things to other satellite, and this is something that concerns us, and I'll show you several examples on that. So we're talking about warfare in space, and warfare in space, this is something that we understand that if the trend, and it will go on, the trend of number of satellite increase in space, and the capability that other countries, specifically enemies country, will increase their capability in space, and number of satellite for sure is going to eventually come out with a warfare in space, and this is something that everybody concerned of, and probably a lot of nations are dealing with it. So one of the examples that actually we had almost 2 years ago in the war between Ukraine and Russia. And when the Russian dealt with the communication satellite that support the Ukraine and actually canceled that capability, Mr. Elon Musk, after the Ukraine actually shout and ask for support, he sent very quickly about 10,000 terminals to support the Ukraine war, and it was successful activity. But after about a year, or maybe a year and a half, Elon Musk understood that this activity or these terminals support the Ukraine to do some offensive activity, and then on a certain day he decided, okay guys, I'm stopping support you, I will support with this communication satellite only on Kiev area because these satellites are not for offensive, just for defense, and this is brought us in question about, okay, so how do you deal with the commercial capability outside in the market when you cannot rely on them? This is a big question, and for us it's a big question, a big mark that we need to put lots of effort in the Israeli independence capability here in the space arena. Another example is two experiments that happened in November 22, where two Russian satellites, one of them decided, very surprisingly so-called, to change the orbit dramatically and get very close to another Russian satellite and just get a picture of the satellite. It was, for us, it was stunning to see that. And this is another demonstration of capability that probably you will see in space in the next future, where satellites are going from one satellite to another just to do some other activity. Well, it sounds easy. It's not easy at all. Remember that every satellite in the LEO orbit moving in about 8 kilometers per second. It's very fast. It's about 30,000 kilometers per hour. And moving satellites within the orbit, it's a huge, huge mission. It's not easy, but we need to deal with it, and this is what's going to happen. I'll jump on that part, and I would like to say something about Iron Sword. And General, Major General Eyal Zamir addressed that, and Dr. Danny Gold. What happened here is that we have a 7 arena activity in parallel, aggressive activity in parallel, that one of them, or several of the countries, are about 2,000 kilometers from Israel. Iran is about 1.6 million square kilometers, and there is activity directly between Iran and Israel and Yemen and all the others faraway countries, but the close country. Also see what happened in Syria. This is very close, but you need to do everything in parallel. You need to understand what's going on in Lebanon, what's going on in Syria, and yes, what's going on with Iran and Taiwan and maybe others. And we understood, and all the defense organization understood, that actually we don't have a really choice. Space domain is a domain to allow us to be always, all the time, in all the geographic arena, in real time, everywhere, and to hold whatever happened in different geographic places in our arena all the time. So a satellite goes from Iran to Israel within 4 minutes. The information he gathered is about, I don't know, minutes from picturing to getting to the ground station, but this is only imaging. We need to talk about other dimension and other spectral activity. So the thing here is, and the dramatic changes that I talk about that happened in space are really supporting this. We understand that the new challenges that we are having now in the space need to address them. So as I see it, we need to put all our satellite over the Middle East in a way that we can really make all the IDF organization access very easily to the Middle East. Our job with the technology that we should build in the space office need to make the space and satellites capabilities such that the IDF will have the full arena in all 7 areas, very much accessible on a day-by-day basis on every geographics. Thank you very much.